Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Scottsdale Unified School District. It is Tuesday, August 13th, and the time is 5:09 p.m. We are fortunate enough to have with us tonight the president of the Scottsdale Parent Council, Cindy Bitcon, and if I could ask you to come up and lead us in the pledge. Flag of the United States, republic for which it stands. Thank you, Cindy. If I could have a roll call starting from my far right.
George Jackson.
Bonnie Sneed. Barbara Perleberg.
Denny Brown.
Pam Kirby. All right. Board has had a chance to review the agenda. Do any of the board members have changes to the agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Board Member Sneed, seconded by Board Member Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Dr. Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, and our public. Welcome to our first board meeting of the 2013-14 school year. It's truly hard to believe. We're back in action. We've finished a week of school, and as I said earlier today to the leadership team, we only have 175 days left to go. But it's gonna come quick too. So we're very excited. I do have a couple of celebrations that I'd like to share with you. The rest of the things I will reserve for my superintendent's comments. But there are a couple of areas that I just would like to highlight as our celebrations this evening. First of all, SchoolDigger.com ranks schools based on student achievement. They ranked a total of 1,100 schools this year, elementary schools. And I'm pleased to say, out of those 1,100 schools, Cheyenne was ranked 8th, Cherokee was ranked 23rd, and Desert Canyon Elementary was ranked 30th. So 3 of our schools were ranked in the top 30 of 1,100 schools across the area that they rank. So that was phenomenal. Our elementary schools are doing great. I'm very proud and excited to celebrate that we are an A district. Our teachers have done a phenomenal job. Our students have performed well, and we're very, very proud of our staff. And our site leaders, our principals, have done a great job of leading those schools, and we have had phenomenal success. We are an A district. We're proud of it. And I want to highlight a school in each one of the grade levels. Desert Canyon Elementary School increased by 20 points this year in their label and their Ames rating. That's phenomenal. Mountainside Middle School increased, and the highest of our middle schools, and Saguaro High School increased, the highest of our high schools. So those 3 schools we wanted to highlight this evening because they have done a phenomenal job. Also, I just want to, Dr. Thuman is here this evening representing our community education and also our preschools. And we wanted to thank the Arizona Cardinals because we just were notified today that our preschool programs have received a grant of $5,000 from the Arizona Cardinals Foundation. So again, a great success. And then finally, our celebration this evening, 2 things. One, I wanted to let you know that our Student Advisory Board will be having their retreat this Saturday at Saguaro High School. Those students, again, we've had a great slate of students that have volunteered and gone through the interview process to be selected as representatives for our Student Advisory Board, and we're very excited for that. And then finally, we have another president of one of our wonderful association partners in the house tonight, and that's Mr. Price Noski. And I'm going to ask Price to come up to the podium to share with you, but he is the new Scottsdale School District Foundation's president, board chair. And as you all know, the Scottsdale Foundation is a nonprofit organization that supports our district. They give us mini grants. They help our teachers. They support our national board certified teachers. They support our all-city banquets. They support everything we do in Scottsdale, and we're very, very proud of the partnership we have with the Scottsdale Foundation. Also this year, they have an inaugural gala that they're going to be doing. It's called the Quest for the Best Gala. It's on September 7th, a Saturday, at Fire Sky Resort. And they're going to be recognizing some of our alumni from Scottsdale School District. And sometimes we don't recognize all the incredible things that our alumni in Scottsdale School District are doing, but they've chosen two alumni to recognize. They'll also be giving some scholarships to several students, and there's also a couple of our school principals that are going to be recognized as our top principals, so we're excited about that. The two alumni that will be recognized are truly incredible people in themselves. Not only are they incredible because they graduated from Scottsdale schools, but they're incredible in what they've been able to do. One in the area of the arts. You may have heard of her, Linda Carter, as Wonder Woman. And she is a graduate of Scottsdale School District, and she will be recognized as one of the top performers in the field of arts because she really has gone on to do that. And then in the field of sciences, we have one of the preeminent scientists in the world who is a graduate of Scottsdale Schools, and that's Dr. Jeffrey Trent. He is the director of the Phoenix-based TGen, and if you say TGen anywhere in this world, people know what you're talking about. And alumni of Scottsdale Schools is actually the head of TGen. That's pretty phenomenal. And so those folks were selected. They're going to be honored at our gala, and I'd just like to invite Price up so that he can say hello to the board, and we can recognize him for his service of being willing to lead the Scottsdale Schools Foundation. So, Price.
Thank you. Pressing the button helps. I am a graduate of the district, so thank you, Dr. Peterson. It's my honor to be here to represent the board tonight, and it's our honor to introduce to yourselves and to the members of the district our inaugural Quest for the Best Gala. I'm happy to announce that as of today, we have achieved our goal of selling or reaching out to at least 300 people. So it will be well attended, and we're very excited about it and are trying to wrap things up. As a matter of fact, we have exceeded our financial goals by as much as $50,000 at this point. So much thanks to you, many thanks to Melissa and all the people here at the district, and thanks to the people that support the district as well, because they are reaching deep into their pockets to help us for the event. As Dr. Peterson mentioned, we are recognizing a student from the arts and a student from the sciences, as well as a teacher from the arts and sciences, as well as a principal from the arts and sciences. And so we will actually have awards and gifts for those people that night, and we're actually very excited to do this. And this is a plan to do a legacy event that we do every year and build what we are going to call the Hall of Excellence for the Scottsdale District. And so we look forward to recognizing future graduates of the district and hopefully at some point having a Hall of Excellence here within the Ed Center. So it's on September 7th, and so far it's been tremendous success, much to your support, and we will be sending you some further information. And if anybody needs further information, Melissa, can we ultimately have them contact you by chance? Perfect. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions also. Also happy to announce, and Dr. Peterson mentioned it, that we did approve earlier this week $50,000 in donations to support the mini grant program here within the district, which has been, matter of fact, last year we did 20,000, correct, Melissa? This year 30, so we've increased that by 20,000. And so I hope to be back here at the next meeting to talk about further approvals for support for other initiatives that we've talked to Dr. Peterson about.
I just want to say thanks, Price. The foundation is a great partner, and you guys make a difference, so thank you.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
I, too, want to thank you. We're real fortunate to have a foundation as active as yours is. You guys do wonderful work, and the fact that you're reaching out to SUSD alumni, I've never heard of a public school district doing that before. Universities do it, of course, but I think that's terrific. So we're very fortunate to have you and all the good work you do, and thank everybody at the foundation board, please.
I will definitely do that. Thank you very much. It's clearly a team effort, and the people that come out of this district are capable to move on to successes in life, and that's what we want to try and recognize. So thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Peterson. Now is the time of our meeting where we have public comment. Ms. Cohen, do I have all of the speaker cards? Sandra, do I have the speaker card? Okay, thank you. Public comment is an opportunity for the public to address the governing board on matters not on the agenda. Personal attacks upon board members, staff personnel, or other persons in attendance or absent by individuals who address the board are not acceptable. In conformance with open meeting laws, the governing board may not discuss or take action tonight on any matters raised that are not on the agenda. However, the governing board may respond to direct criticism, ask staff to review the matter, or ask that it be placed on a future agenda. As a reminder, each speaker will have 3 minutes, and Board Member Brown will give you your, how many?
3 minutes, 30 seconds. Stop.
He'll give you your 30-second warning. We have 2 speakers tonight. First would be Jeff Jordan.
This is pretty exciting for me. This is the first time I've had an opportunity to address the board. I guess first I would like to say that I am a alumni of SUSD. I went K through high school, and actually am a teacher right now at the high school I actually went to. And I've lived in Scottsdale all my life. Because I have, and because I believe in Scottsdale Unified School District and the products that they make and having excellent students, as was stated earlier, about some of the achievements they've made, I felt it was time for myself to go on record, not to the board per se, but to the public in general, that I have some great concerns for the future of our school district. I went into my job with my eyes wide open. I knew that teaching was not the most profitable channel to make, but I am pleased every day to be a career and technical education teacher and being able to teach the classes I do, being able to help out with clubs such as First Robotics, and be able to help students building guitars and such as that. What I'm concerned with is I'm seeing a trend in our district due to lack of opportunities for teachers to gain income. I've heard some recent stories, and I won't use any names on it, but of teachers exiting our district and being able to go to districts near us and gaining at least $10,000 or more in income just by transferring districts. For myself, that's not my concern. What I do have concern for is for our students. Our students may get to the point eventually where they will have all the best and brightest teachers exiting our district. We had, in good faith, I had planned on going forth this summer, and I worked quite a bit on a few of the workshops and conferences I went to help out my department as a department chair at Chaparral High School. And I came back to school finding that was, I had to hear through a roundabout way that position had been eliminated. Now, it's not, there's not many people in my department. It's not a great pay increase, but it will affect my bottom line of what I'm making. Having my daughter recently getting hired at another district, I was surprised to find out that she's starting out at a pay equal to mine after being a teacher. This is my 9th year. Now again, I've gone into this with my eyes open. It's not about myself. Okay, what it's about is our students and what the teachers will do, and we need to see about increasing opportunities for our teachers to be able to increase their income. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Next is Chris Marsh.
Hi, I'm Chris Marsh. I teach at Chaparral. Like him, I'm an alumni of the district. Well, I'm going to be honest. I was actually expecting a lot of people because people were going to be coming about the department chair elimination, and there's just a lot of unhappy people. And it actually makes me a little bit nervous that there's not, because my coach, my running coach is a Korean vet, and he always says that a complaining soldier is a happy soldier, and that once the soldiers stop complaining is when you got to be scared. So this just really makes me nervous. So anyway, back to my hidden agenda. I actually was coming to kind of make a public plea to teachers, and I swiped a bunch of these from my front office today. I mean, I literally like stole them. To have teachers post these on their doors for parent night, and I will leave these behind. But really to the SUSD community, I'd like to see everybody, I mean, if possible, everybody getting involved in the override. And I'm being politically neutral here, but if we just get the word out, if teachers were to post these things, if parents on parent night ask their teachers, we can answer factually. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marsh. Next item on the agenda are superintendent's comments. Dr. Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. A couple of things. One, I wanted to acknowledge our 804 teachers that came this summer and worked on the Summer Institute at their own time to get professional development. We appreciate all of the things that they've done, and we're very appreciative of our curriculum folks that developed and worked on those programs to help provide that professional development. Also, we are proud to announce that we did have 91 new teachers hired into the district this year. So we've got 91 new teachers that have started in Scottsdale schools, and we welcome them back to the district. About 30% of those are alumni of Scottsdale schools. So we're pretty excited that we have a good group of teachers, and some of them have come back after graduating from our district, and we're fortunate to have them. We had an incredible start of the school year, and I'd like to thank all of our teachers and our administrators and our students and our parents, because we really had a tremendous beginning of the school year. It was a strong beginning. Yes, we still have some final budget items to work out. We're working through that. As we close out the fiscal year, we're going to be addressing the final department chair stipends and things to make that work for folks, and we'll be doing that over the course of the next several weeks so we can get that taken care of. I do want to acknowledge that our enrollment on August 12th was 25,378 students, and that's 427 more that were enrolled on the last day of school in May. So we actually have about 400 students more than that we ended from the school year with. So we're excited about that, and that number hopefully will hold true as we move forward. We are an A district. We're very, very proud of that. And there was only 18 out of 228 districts in the state of Arizona that earned an A rating. And so to be one of those 18 is quite an accomplishment. It's our third consecutive year for being an A school district, and that means our students and our teachers are doing a phenomenal job of making a difference in learning and growing, and we're really, really proud of that. We do have some M&O override informational sessions scheduled with our public and our community. August 19th will be our first one. It'll be in the Saguaro Learning Community. August 26th will be at Desert Mountain. On September 12th, we will be in the Coronado Learning Community. On September 17th, in the Chaparral Learning Community. And finally, on September 30th, we will be in the Arcadia Learning Community. That information is on the website, but we will be providing sessions to talk about the M&O override, the importance of it, and what it will mean as we move forward and we're successful. A couple of final things. You will hear a presentation this evening from our Community Education Department regarding our summer programs. I am very pleased to say that between our brick and mortar summer school and our e-learning summer school courses, we had right at 2,400 students in high school taking e-learning and brick and mortar courses together. And overall, we had a completion rate of right at about 84%. So we had a great completion rate for a lot of students that needed to either take classes for credit recovery or take advanced classes so that they can accelerate their education. We're very excited about that. And probably even more exciting was our middle schools. This was the first year that we really truly implemented a full middle school program. We had a total of 630 students from our middle schools that came and took summer middle school programs with us. So we know that's a very robust and in-demand set of classes, and we're going to continue those, and you will hear more about this evening. Finally, I would like to recognize our finance department and our CFO, Daniel O'Brien. For the 20th year in a row, we have been awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting by the ASBO International. That's an achievement in its highest form for the area of government accounting and finance reporting. We are just finishing our audit with the Auditor General's Office, and we have had good reports from the auditors for all of our financial and accounting areas. So we're very, very proud of that, and we're proud of that award. So kudos to our finance department and everything that they're doing to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Peterson. Now is the time where we move on to the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. However, if a member of the board desires discussion on any item, it will be removed and considered separately. So with that, does any board member wish to remove an item for consent, or do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I motion we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
It's been moved by George Jackson. Gosh, kind of out of routine. It's been moved by Board Member Jackson, seconded by Board Member Sneed. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 5-0. Next, we move on to the information discussion items. The first item is 2012-13 SUSD Ames results and letter grades. Dr. Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. This evening we have Dr. McNeil and Dr. Von Echten, our executive directors of elementary and middle schools, that are going to give a very upbeat report regarding our learning results and overall how we've done as our schools, grade levels, and our students have performed. And you'll see our students have really knocked it out of the park.
Lots of pressure there. Madam President, governing board members, Dr. Peterson and Sandra, Dr. Von Echten and I are extremely excited to be here to present the 2013 Ames results. Data can be a little boring, and in our rehearsal, I guess we weren't as exciting. So we're going to do everything we can tonight to keep you excited. Yeah, what's going on here? Okay, so education and accountability in the year 2013 is a very interesting time for our schools and our communities. Paulo Coelho has this quote, a respected author, when we strive to become better than we are, everything around us becomes better too. I think that's words that we need to live by as we are continually being judged and criticized or evaluated based on letter grades and test results. Schools, principals, students, teachers are working really hard, and like it or not, schools are being evaluated on those test scores. I don't know what's going on here. What's going on? Okay, so let's frame our presentation for tonight. Did we get there? We're going to look at the district Ames results. We're going to look at longitudinal information over 3 years of the district's results, as well as comparing ourselves to the state of Arizona. We're going to talk briefly about AYP, which is annual yearly progress, which has transformed into AMOs, which is annual measure objectives, under the ESEA reclassification. We'll talk a little bit about A to F letter grades and how our schools did, and reflect on that. So let's get started. Third grade, district third grade. We're looking at some bar charts here that are representations of the percent of students that met or exceeded. Working from left to right, we'll start with mathematics. We can see from 2011, 2012, and 2013, in third grade math, we are consistently high with our students passing at the rate of 82%. As we move to reading, 2011, 2012, 2013, again, consistently high, not with many highs or lows or any surprises when it comes to this. Interesting enough, looking at these results, especially in reading, this is the first year of the law for this year's third graders called Move On When Reading. All schools, elementary schools, are on high alert as this year's third grade readers must pass the Ames test or they will be held back. So looking at our results from 2013, we see 88 students met or exceeded. As we look at that information, if the law was present right now, we asked the question, how many of our students would have had to been held back? 34 students did not pass the Ames test, which has our schools and our principals and our teachers starting to evaluate what we're doing to make sure that all students pass the Ames test. Moving to the district versus the state of Arizona for this last testing year, we can see that in mathematics, we outperformed the state by 14%, and in reading, we outperformed them by 13%. For fourth grade, moving from left to right again, mathematics, reading, and science. Fourth grade is the first year that we test science. We can see that in mathematics, there was a slight dip in the percent of kids that are meeting or exceeding the standard. This trend is present across the state. Fourth grade math Ames test was and did show the lowest growth across the state. The test got harder, a lot of people are saying. And our results show that that might be true. Looking at reading, 91 to 89, we dipped a little bit. But in science, we see that we're consistently high, dipping a little bit as well. If we look at ourselves versus the state of Arizona, we will see that mathematics, we are again 12% of our outperforming the state in mathematics, 12% in reading, and 21% in science. So although our science scores didn't look so exciting on the previous slide, we are outperforming the state quite significantly at a higher rate in science. Moving to fifth grade, moving from left to right again, mathematics, reading, and writing. Writing in fifth grade is the first year that it is assessed. We can see that nothing too alarming here, nothing jumping out, pretty consistent across the board, 78 to 77, 89 to 91. We did see some gains in the fifth grade reading as well as in the fifth grade writing. In looking at how we did versus the state, again, 14% outperformed the state in mathematics, 12% in reading, and writing, which is a great concern in all schools as we move to the PARCC assessment. We can see that our fifth graders are faring quite well compared to the state of Arizona.
Madam President, Governing Board members, and Sandra, Dr. Peterson, of course, it's my pleasure to present to you the secondary results, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and our sophomore students. Again, longitudinally looking from 2011 through 2013 for the 6th grade in the areas of math, reading, and writing. Math increased a percentage point over the 2 years, math has increased 1 percentage point relative to the last 2 years. When we look at reading, we had an increase from last year, year over year, but a slight dip from 2 years ago. And in the areas of writing, we have seen a decline of 9 percentage points from 2 years ago and 5 points year over year. When we look at our SUSD 6th grade students in comparison to the state, though, we exceeded the state testing rates in terms of math at 12%, reading at 9%, and our writing scores at 10%. For our 7th graders, again, in the area of math, we've plateaued for the last 3 years at scores of 74% passing rates of meets and exceed. In the area of reading, we had no year-over-year gain, but an 11-point increase over 2 years ago. In the areas of writing, a slight gain year-over-year and down 5 percentage points over a 2-year span. Again, when we look at Scottsdale Unified compared to the state, we outperformed the state in math by 9 percentage points, in the areas of reading 6 percentage points, and in writing by 9 percentage points. In 8th grade, we have the areas of math, reading, and science. We do not have a writing component in 8th grade. Again, from a longitudinal look at math, a slight decrease of 3 percentage points from last year, and that's also a decrease longitudinally from 2 years ago. In the area of reading, we a decrease of 1 percentage point year over year, but up 1 point over a 2-year look. In the area of science, we decreased 4 percentage points year over year, and that would apply also to 2 years ago. Again, looking at our 8th grade students compared to the state of Arizona, in the area of math, we outscored the state by 11 percentage points, 10 percentage points for reading, and in the area of science by 14. Approximately 1,000 9th grade students enrolled in our biology courses take the Ames Science. When we look at that area, we had a slight increase from last year of 2 percentage points, but going back 2 years, it's down by 4 percentage points. Again, compared to the state, though, in the area of Ames Science, for our students, high school students, we're up 13% compared to the state. 10th grade, our sophomore cohort, we have the areas of math, reading, science, and writing. Looking at the left in the areas of math, a decrease of 3 percentage points relative to year over year and 2 years ago. In the areas of reading, a decrease of 1 percentage point year over year and flat compared to 2 years ago, or plateaued, if you will. In the area of science, a decrease of 5 percentage points, and looking 2 years back, that's 2 percentage points. And lastly, in the area of writing, down 4 percentage points, but up from a 2-year comparison. Again, compared to the state in the area of math, Scottsdale outperformed the state by 15 percentage points, 7 percentage points in the area of reading, 12 percentage points in science, and 11 percentage points in the area of writing.
It's important to point out, as we look at longitudinal data over the last 3 years, the Ames test is not static by any means. The test is continually getting more difficult. Test item selection is an interesting science in its own right, and we've learned a lot of that with our formulations of our pre and post test under the Senate Bill 1040 requirements. As we balance or dance between teaching the state standards and taking the Ames test, and now teaching the Common Core and getting ready for the PARC assessment, we're seeing that the Ames is transforming itself. It is becoming more difficult, getting more PARC-like or using Common Core type questions. So, you know, when we look at longitudinal and we're not showing skyrocket results, we have to keep in mind, as the test is getting more difficult, where is the balance between how we should be? By staying consistently high or plateaued, are we in fact increasing compared to the difficulty of the test? So I think it's important that we always keep that in the back of the mind when we're looking at longitudinal data. Okay, let's do some history lesson now about, now we know the numbers, what does that mean for our schools and how we're perceived by our community and how our schools are being graded, if you will. What's new for 2013-14? AMOs, which is Annual Measurable Objectives. I'll talk a little bit about that. I'll talk about the 95 tested rule, the ELL, or the English Language Learner Reclassification Criteria, fall far below FFB reduction, and just some additional data provided to the schools. This is the 3rd year of the letter grade system that replaced the old Arizona Learns labels, if you will. They are continually to make changes to how schools are getting the letter grade. That's a good thing. They're finding out the problems in the formula, and they're adding components based on how kids are performing. So the good news is, as the system rolls out, there are smart people making decisions to make it more viable. ESEA flexibility waiver. The Elementary and Secondary Education Act has been reinstated, which has replaced the old No Child Left Behind. So we hear words from 2001, 2002 about No Child Left Behind. No Child Left Behind is gone. President Obama in 2011 invited the states to apply for a flexible waiver. Under No Child Left Behind, 2001, 2002, it stated that schools had to have 100% of their kids meet or exceed the standard in reading and math by 2014. Well, in 2011, the government or the policymakers got together and said, uh-oh, maybe this goal was unrealistic. As you can see, looking at our data, we're showing in the 80s and the 90s. If we were still under No Child Left Behind, all of our schools would be in school improvement because we're not meeting at 100. So the good news is the government and the policymakers reached out to the states and said, hey, we know it's not perfect. We're going to work with schools and create something that will work. Well, the state of Arizona needed to do some things. One, adopt the Common Core standards, which they did in 2010. We needed to create a one accountability labeling system, which we did under Senate Bill 1286, the A to F. We needed to, as a state, develop and implement a teacher and principal evaluation system, which we did, Senate Bill 1040, and the ADE had to do some restructuring. So we met the flexibility waivers, meaning that our schools have till 2020 to reach the 100% mark, if you will. Well, in 2013, these were the AMOs. Our schools, these were the high jump bar, if you will, that the schools had to meet in each grade level and those content areas. Most of our schools did meet those marks. If they did not meet their AMO, there is some conversations about school improvement and things like that, kind of like the old rules under AYP and the annual yearly progress. As you can see, if we just focus on 3rd grade reading at 82, as we flip to 2014 AMOs, we can see that it goes to 85. Basically, they increased by 3%. These numbers will increase next year, 2015, probably by 3%, and then all the way to get to all these numbers need to be 100 by 2020. A little more realistic than No Child Left Behind, where 100% of our kids needed to meet in 2014. As you can see from this graph here, it kind of lays it out. So if we follow third grade math, you can see the trajectory from 2014 at 79, 2015 83, 86, 90, 93, 97, 100. Basically, No Child Left Behind was extended 6 years for schools to meet the mark. Now, the million-dollar question is, will schools be able to make 100% of their kids meet or exceed the standard in 2020 versus compared to 2014? I don't know. It's remained to be seen. But it's important that we know that AYP is now AMO, and there's all this funky jibber-jabber, if you will, that holds schools accountable. The 95 tested policy, this was has changed a little bit, and this helps schools from perhaps being or playing a little dirty, if you will. It's saying that you need to test all kids. You got to test all your kids on the Ames test. If you don't test 95% of your kids, you're going to get in a little bit of trouble. How they figure the 95% tested rule is the number of students enrolled and the number of students tested and divide it. If you have 100 kids, 95 of those kids in third grade reading need to take the test. There's a penalty if you don't have it. If a school does not test 95% of their students in a grade level or a content area, let's say they tested 93%, you can see the best they can get is a letter B. I think this is a good thing. It helps schools perhaps that are thinking about hiding kids and not testing them, perhaps suspending them before little Johnny, he's not doing very well. We're going to suspend him before the Ames test. My scores just increased by 1% or 2% based on how many kids. So this is a good thing. The changes to hold schools accountable, make sure that all kids have the opportunity to test. Next, the ELL, or the English Language Learner Point Criteria. These are our second language learner students. Again, we have to test 95% of them, and you must have at least 10 of them at your school to be eligible for these bonus points. Not all of our schools have 10 ELL kiddos. So they're not open for those 3 bonus points. A lot of people were saying that the ESEA got more difficult, so we didn't see as many kids reclassify. Therefore, schools did not get as many bonus points, if you will. 2 years ago, the percent rate that you needed to pass was 30% of your ELL kiddos had to pass the test. This last year, they lowered it to 23%. They found that not as many kids were passing the test. So they lowered the bar, if you will, by 7%. So if you had 10 kids at your school, you needed 3 of them to pass the ESEA test to get the ELL points. This is important too for our schools that have a high ELL population. And lastly, the newest thing, an exciting thing, was the fall far below reduction points. All of our schools were eligible for this, schools with grades 3 or 8. Many say that this evolved in the flaw in the system, if you will, to where middle schools didn't have the opportunity to get bonus points. In the elementary, you see traditionally more ELL kids, so you were more likely to get those bonus points for ELL in the elementary. And at the high school, you have possibility of getting graduation, bonus points, and dropout. But at the middle school, you really didn't have an opportunity to get those. This was instated to help the middle schools, I believe. As you can see, in third grade reading, if you had less than 3% of your kids falling far below, which is many of our schools, you had to show less than 3% over a 3-year average. If you had 10% of your kids not passing the Ames test in third grade reading, let's say, you would have to show a 2% decrease in order to get these bonus points. For 8th grade math, the same thing applies. All of our schools did receive these bonus points, so it kind of looks like it was a wash. Many of the schools out there did get these, and I think if you ask the experts out there, they would say this didn't work. The order was to help the middle schools, but most middle schools got it, so nobody jump frogged each other. It was a good try. We'll see if it stays into effect.
So let's get to the real celebration here. As Dr. Peterson pointed out in his opening remarks, Scottsdale was not only a A district this past year, but has maintained being an A district for 3 years. And I think that's an absolute celebration. With that said, let me do just a quick review of how we got there. So what I have for you in front is the pie chart that shows how the grading is determined. 50% is a composite score. The other 50% comes from the growth score, growth of all students and growth from the lowest performing students. How did that pan out for us? Well, in the area of the composite score, when you take the passing rate of all of our students, meets and exceeds across all grade levels in the areas of reading and math, we scored 81%. When you take that, Dave here, this should be, okay, with the AIMSA, I apologize. We do have 82%, and then as Dr. McNeil pointed out, we have bonus points that were awarded in all 3 areas, totaling 9, that brought us to 91 points. When we look at the growth model, this is the percentile ranking of our students, all students at 49, the median growth percentile of our bottom 25% at 51, for an overall growth rate of 50, that averages. When we come up with our growth composite score of 91, and that previous slide should have been 49, I apologize, we did have a total of 140 points, and that results in the letter grade of A.
As Dr. Von Echten pointed out with the student growth percentile, this is relatively new, and it takes a lot of conversations to understand the SGP, if you will. This is an interesting learning curve for a lot of our administrators and teachers. In the old days, it was basically we got a label based on how many of our kids passed the test. You were an excelling school based on how many kids met or exceeded the standard. Well, with the implementation of the growth model, it's now comparing kids performing against kids like them across the state. Here are a couple phrases that just might help put it in perspective. How well are our students scoring in relationship to the performance of other students in the state with similar academic achievement history? And how have our lowest performing students improved over the past school year? You're going to see a lot more conversation about the growth model and growth percentiles. I think it's a good way to really look at student achievement. So how did we do? If we look at a 3-year longitudinal of our letter grades, you can see that we were consistently high, and compared to 2012, we did not change. Looking back at 2011, we do see that more of our schools became Bs and more of our schools went from Cs to Bs. Of course, we're shooting to have more As, and we will continue to work and refine on the areas that we need to get to those things. Where are we still going? We were going here last year. As you can see, these are a lot of educational terms. I double dog dare you to figure out what they all mean. Many people in the room cannot, but these are the many times the unfunded mandates that we're all working under. Again, celebration for Scottsdale is that our teachers and administrators and students still show up every day and work hard, even with all the pressures of accountability. And these are just a small portion of the things that are going on around us. We're open for any questions at this time.
Thank you very much. Do any board members have any questions or comments? Board Member Brown.
I was just curious, I'm not asking for data, but just off the top of your head, is the state proportionately looking the same? When we see our AIM scores go down, we talk about it being a harder test or test. Is the state number down from the previous year?
Governing Board President Kirby, Governing Board Member Brown. Yes, I think talking to our colleagues across the state, even going to 2 years ago data when I was in Tucson receiving the award for Scottsdale receiving the A, and sitting with Catalina Foothills and the other districts like Chandler, the data 2 testing years ago was flat or consistently high or plateaued. Again, the conversations with testing colleagues across the state in the large districts, again, we're seeing that the trend is that it is right here. And talking to Mary Beth in the audience as well, after talking to her last Friday, she agreed with me 100% that the word is that there hasn't been a whole lot of jumps. We're seeing it's pretty static.
And this is more just, it hits me, when you show student growth that we're going to try to get to 100% by what at 2020. Well, what happens if you had an influx of kids in the 7th grade that weren't in your district for all those years. I mean, how do you account for that when you were hoping for kids to enroll in your district from other districts,
Yeah.
and you have no control?
Board Member Brown, that is an interesting phenomenon, if you will, or an issue. I know that there was a term on that last slide called FAY, and that stands for full academic year. The state has put safeguards in place to make sure that the kids that count for you when being held accountable have to be at your school the full academic year. What defines a FAY student is that they were enrolled within the first 10 days. So little Johnny, who shows up on the 11th day at Cherokee Elementary, he will still learn at Scottsdale and he will still take the Ames test, but his results will not count towards the accountability measures for that school year. So there are safeguards for that influx of students that show up perhaps mid-year or from other districts or charter schools or private schools that perhaps haven't learned what we are teaching in Scottsdale.
But we have about a year to get them up to speed.
Sure, we have a year of a grace period, if you will, and then they need to perform at the level that, or learn the Scottsdale way, if you will.
Well, I just want to thank everybody. I mean, this was, in the face of adversity over the last few months, to have accomplished this is huge. And it shows great fortitude on our teachers and administrators, and I really appreciate everybody's efforts.
I would agree 100%. Our teachers were rock stars in a very interesting year. Our kids showed up, they performed. Our teachers showed up, they performed. Our administrators showed up, they performed. We can't have nothing but good thoughts for everybody.
Thank you. Board Member Jackson.
Took the words out of my mouth. It was a great presentation. I appreciate all the effort that went into putting it together, gentlemen, and considering, just like Denny said, with all the adversity we face this year, the entire district should be very proud. I certainly am. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. It makes you wonder, what if we didn't have that adversity? What would the results look like? So,
good point.
Board Member Perleberg.
Thank you. I reiterate that point. April was a rough month in our district, and then thank goodness we got through it so well. One question, and these numbers weren't in your presentation, but the board did see them, and it just raised a question for me, and it kind of piggyback on Denny's point of the 11th and 12th graders that I wanted to say math stuck in my head, but those scores seem so off compared to everything else, and I wondered who exactly in 11th and 12th grade are taking these tests, and why is there such a difference in performance?
These are students that are retesting for the purpose of receiving a diploma. They've tested multiple times, and I think in some cases they're students that are frustrated for that reason alone. But we do offer the supports for them, the math support and some of these pieces that we have that can try to bring those math skills up. Ames math, Ames writing courses, and also that get them up to snuff so they can pass that test. But invariably every year, it's unfortunate that we do have some of these students that don't pass. Fortunately, we do have the ability to augment their scores with their coursework for the hope that they could receive a diploma, though.
Are we generally looking at small numbers of kids? I mean, I saw percentages, so I didn't really know
small
how
numbers.
many kids we're actually talking about. Just
It could
very small
range from 10 to 30
amount.
among our high schools. But this is not large percentage. You see percentage scores,
Right.
but small amounts of kids.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. I just want to rephrase Board Member Brown's question a different way with respect to the math. The declines in Scottsdale schools, would you say they were at the same rate, slower rate, or faster decline than the state? If I were to go pull the state's longitudinal data, what would I see?
I think you would find that they relatively mirror one another. It'd be the same proportional rate.
Well, and it's interesting that you said the test got harder, because I think we're all anticipating that the PARCC test is going to be more difficult than the Ames test, and it's important that our parents, our teachers, our administrators, our state legislators don't panic when they see those results and want to bail on that PARCC test, because you get what you measure, and if it's a harder test, then we need to step up. So.
And Board Member Kirby, we will be, I'm guessing, selected. Some of our schools will be piloted for the first round of PARCC testing in the spring. I'm going to bet, Andy, would you say 2 of our schools perhaps will be selected around right before the Ames test? So we're going to get our first glimpse and our first hands-on learning about that. So I would agree 100%.
Did we know that the Ames test was going to be harder? Was there any hints of that? That was.
I think it's we need to be very careful about saying that the test got harder. We know that items are the depth of knowledge, or the DOK, they're increasing the difficulty of items within the test. So
Okay.
in saying it got harder, sure, the test questions are getting harder, but at what rate? But yeah, it's been communicated to our principals in our schools that as we get closer, the questions are getting more difficult. So when we compare longitudinal data, we need to keep that in mind.
Okay, thank you. Board Member Brown.
So these 2 schools that are going to take the trip to Parkland, we probably don't want to discuss which schools those are, but one elementary, one high school?
We don't know. We will be notified. They just came out with an email saying it's coming, and knowing the size of our district and.
So we're not picking the schools?
Oh gosh, no.
All righty.
I'm just a betting man, and I know that we will be part of the fun.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation. The next information discussion item we have on the agenda is an update on the construction progress of the 2010 bond.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I am excited to be able to introduce Mr. Rick Freeman. Rick has done an incredible job with his staff and with contractors. You're not going to find a better person out there that cares about building schools and doing what's best for kids. So, Rick, take it away.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Peterson, Mrs. Como, like Dr. McNeil and Dr. Von Echten, I'm excited to be here tonight to present this stuff to you. So we'll go ahead and get started. You know, it was a year ago that I stood before you and told you the things that we had accomplished last year with the completion of ANLC, SUPI, our parking lot work, our lighting projects, and various things. ANLC was completed, and we had a few schools that were still left of part of the bond project. So over the summer of 2013, we've had a busy summer. We've completed Mohave, we completed Cocopah, and we've completed basically Ingleside. There you go, Ingleside. I want to show you a picture here from May of 2011. You know, the voters marked that little box in November of 2010, and they voted for us to have this bond. And we got busy putting together the program so we could start construction. Well, when school dismissed in May of 2011, this is the site, the way that it looked like at Cocopah. And as of this last week, if you take a look, this is the picture of Cocopah today as a facility in place with all the new buildings, all the beautiful additions, the smiling faces of staff and students. We've made some dramatic improvements to that neighborhood, even the challenges that we had with the neighborhood. The neighbors, some of the neighbors weren't necessarily pleased with what we were going to do, but they've completely changed their attitudes. As we worked during the summer, this is a picture taken of the Enrichment building that was the last building on that campus to complete, and we finished that at the beginning of August. Here's a picture taken in the background. There's a picture of the cafeteria with the nice covered shade area that we have for students out in that courtyard. A couple of pictures I have here of classrooms in the Enrichment building, just so you can see the beautiful setups of classrooms. In the background, you can see a smiling teacher, how happy she is to be in that wonderful classroom that she has in the Enrichment building. We pushed on and we've got more parking at that facility. We've improved drop-offs. Is it 100% perfect? It's not. But we're working on training our parents so they know which direction to drive through the neighborhood when they drop their children off. But we have a great parking area back in the back for our faculty. Mohave Middle School. I stood here a year ago and I showed you this picture, and up in the upper right-hand corner you can see the two-story academic classroom building at Mohave. You can see in the other portions of the picture, you can see the library that was going in, and I don't know if you can see that mouse running around there. There's the library. That was in August of 2012. We completed those and moved into those over the winter break of this last year. Then we got busy, and during that winter break we tore down buildings of the campus. You can take a shot there in January of 2013 when the clock ticked around. You can see where the new administration and parking lot areas were going to go. We'd moved into that classroom building into the library. And now as of about a week ago, we've got this picture right here, actually a couple of weeks ago. We'd completed the office building. We completed the district office portion of the MDA, as well as the new parking lot that goes in there. That is completely all paved out today. Everything is in use. And here is the front entryway of Mohave Middle School as you come to the administration building. In the administration building, here's a quick shot of the nurses area in that facility. Here's another picture taken of MDA Building B. As we have curriculum in there, we have the EIS program, we have gifted, we have our translators located in that facility now. Here's a picture of the parking lot taken from the roof, showing the parking that we have. And if you remember back, for those of you that were able to visit the old campus a few years ago, whenever you'd have a meeting at the MDA, you'd be loaded up in parking down the street. I'm not going to say that we have every car off of the street, but we have a tremendous improvement on parking at that facility now. When school dismissed in May of this last year, at Ingleside, we still had the last remaining building as part of the construction project out on the corner that housed our new administration area, or that housed administration, and we'd completed a building for them to move into. The tractor started to roll, we tore down buildings. Here's a shot, the aerial shot of Ingleside Middle School now. We have the new parking lot, which is a dramatic improvement of what we used to have. We have the two-story classroom building to the left. In the foreground is the gymnasium building. Behind that's the administration, and then the far background there is the cafeteria and our music classrooms in the back. Here's the front entryway as you walk up to the front side of Ingleside nowadays, as you come to the front of that facility. Here's another picture taken out across the courtyard of the area that's up inside that school. Now, we do have a couple of shade structures that are still on their way. They're still on order, won't be here till about the middle part of September. And we also have been working on a solar collector over top of the amphitheater on that area where we're going to be able to put in some solar electricity. That's yet to come on that facility. Our ongoing projects, as you remember, we brought to you as board members that we had achieved some savings in our bond program. And with that savings, we've introduced some additional projects that we're allowed to introduce as part of our bond program. So we have the Apache Bus Maintenance Facility, the Tonalea Multipurpose Building, and the Cholla Scottsdale Healthcare NOAA program that's up at the Cholla campus. Here's the Apache facility where our buses are housed, and you can see where the new maintenance facility was designed to go. Over on were some existing basketball courts. Those were all removed. And here's a basic footprint. We have a 2-bay garage for working on our buses with a small office, a parts room, and a restroom that'll be placed on that property. And as we speak, here's a photograph of that area where we tore the tennis courts out. We've actually already gotten the new basketball court poured. Since I took these pictures the other day, the building is actually standing and the roof is on top of the building now. I didn't want to cheat and put a picture in from today, but this is the way it looked last week, and you'd be surprised at the advances that have been made even since last week. This is the area for the new multipurpose building over at Tonalea. At Tonalea, we've been diligently working with the city over the summer to come up with some of the needs and their desires for that facility. As a matter of fact, I just received a 4-page document from the city today on some additional changes they would like to make to our site plan that I've got to get busy and work with them. But we're diligently working with them. We're working with our contractor and our architect so that we can get this particular building pushed along. Here is the architect's rendering of what that new multipurpose building will look like at Tonalea. That'll be down there on that east end of that campus. We're working with the neighbors so that we can satisfy their needs and make sure that things go as they should. The Cholla Scottsdale Healthcare NOAA program, and NOAA is the, and I've even forgot what the acronym stands for. It's Neighborhood Outreach Access to Health Program. That's what it is. I have a hard time with that. We're working on that building. That building had been gutted. It was the old science building for the Cholla facility. We've come in and we built walls. Things are going into place in there. Here's a snapshot of the receptionist area that will be for the NOAA program. And then another picture of the walls that are going up in that building. Now, since I took this picture, all those walls now are sheetrocked. The electrical conduits are in the wall. That thing is taking shape. and they're going to be celebrating their grand opening on the 14th of October for that healthcare facility. I want you to know we're an A-plus district, and we've absolutely worked hard on being an A-plus district in our construction of our schools. It's been a wonderful opportunity to do these things that help our students, that help our teachers. But because you made the decision that we would go forward with the bond, and because our voters said yes, we're here today with some beautiful facilities. And I want to say thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Any comments or questions from the board? Board Member Brown.
Minutia, but working in a large facility like I do, we are constantly trying to upgrade, particularly lighting equipment to make it energy as efficient as possible. Do we have contractors that are saying that new LED with that G20 base will be in within the year, things like that? Are we on top of that?
Board Member Brown, we're working with these people. They contact me all the time, and right now it's not at the place where we need it to be economically for us to put into our school district. But as you know, as part of our lighting project district-wide, most, if not, well, nearly most of our outside lights, we've switched to LEDs all around the campus, all around the district. So we've got some prototypes in classrooms of LED lighting, but right now we're just trying to make sure that it's economically feasible, even though we'll save money, making sure that we can actually go in there and we do the best thing for the district.
Yeah, I guess, so the question would be, were bases and everything considered when we put the stuff in for the upgrade?
Absolutely. We can go back in and we can put these things in place. You bet. Change the light bulb.
Board Member Jackson.
Rick, you know, we've said it many times, you do an unbelievable job. Those schools are just beautiful. And I'll be very brief, but my sister was in town recently from New England, fluent community of Boston, and she's very proud of her public schools back there, as they should be. And we went over and looked at Mohave, and I think she was under the impression, because of everything she'd heard about school funding in Arizona, and her jaw dropped. And then we went to Saguaro, and the same thing. Yeah, those schools are just gorgeous. I was proud to show them to her, and despite what you hear a lot from, I know we need to fund schools better here, but you have built some beautiful schools I personally was proud of, and we should as a district, because she came from a part of the country that's very proud of their public education, but we looked real good, so thank you.
Board Member Jackson, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You know, kudos, you build beautiful buildings, but I think the part that you didn't say that I wish you would have, so I'm going to say it,
Okay.
is that you did it with minimal to no disruption to learning. And I said it earlier in work study, when we don't get emails, that means things are going great. And I personally, I may have gotten one email during all of the construction, and it's to build these kinds of buildings and get them up on time, on budget, with no disruption is a trifecta. So congratulations to you and your team. Well done.
Madam President, thank you very much.
Okay, next item on our agenda is an update on e-learning and summer school program.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. We've had an incredible, robust program that's just blossomed, and I'm very proud of the work that Dr. Thuman and his staff have done. He's going to share with you some of the recent results we've had.
Thank you, Dr. Peterson, Governing Board, Madam President, Sandra. I want to go over two things tonight with summer school. I want to start with the summer school information first. I know that was a request of yours in the spring to see some data on that. And then we'll transition into e-learning, online learning, what we're doing right now this fall as school has started. We have two modes of summer school. We have your traditional brick and mortar summer school at Coronado, which we've had there for 3 or 4 years consistently. And then we also now have online classes, since we're in the world of online. So we have an online summer school program. Both are fee-based. Both have fees attached to them. You'll see a slide here. We'll talk about scholarships, how we have some programs internally that we've used to help the students who need the help to get in. But I wanted to preface that so we can, as we move on, we don't confuse between the fall e-learning and the summer e-learning. We understand the difference. So the first slide you're looking at is the Coronado traditional brick and mortar summer high school. There was 982 courses completed at Coronado this summer. So 92% completion rate for students who came in Monday through Thursday for 3 weeks in June, 3 weeks in July, a quick breakdown there by class and a grade range of what they received. But that's been a very successful program over the years and will continue to be. Summer e-learning numbers are a little bit higher than the brick and mortar, and as our e-learning and online program has grown, more families with traveling and with conflicts who can't be here for 3 weeks straight through the summer have found this to be a better venue. We had a little over 1,400 courses completed. It means courses that were completed, credit was received by students. Now, it doesn't mean 1,400 students. There might be students that took maybe 2 classes, but 1,400 courses that were completed and credit was given. 78% completion rate, and what I attribute that to is we do have, and especially in June, as e-learning is still kind of a new venue for some families and students. There's some people that think, well, I can travel and take 2-3 classes and sign up for them, and then by day 3 realize, oh, this isn't going to work, and we get the calls and they go back to 1 class. Those people still enrolled with us. We still had those numbers at day 1. I still planned on them, so that's why that number's a little off. I will think that will change in the next couple of years as more and more people have gotten themselves into e-learning and know what it's like. And I did mention scholarships, and I want to give some accolades to Dr. Sakos and her department from Dropout Prevention, Jesse Kinney and EIS, the Title I CTE departments. All those departments have different venues, different funding sources that they can use for students who need to take summer school classes. And so this summer we had 197 students who received a scholarship, and 168 of them completed the course and got the credit, whether it's a credit recovery, they're catching up, whether they're advancing, getting ahead, or whether it's just in their schedule and they were planning on doing it. So 85% of our students who are neediest students who got scholarships came to summer school, finished, and got a credit for their class, which I think is a very remarkable stat. And this summer, as Dr. Peterson alluded to earlier, we started a middle school program. We held a middle school program at Cocopah, Ingleside, and Mountainside. All 3 programs used a blended model. We used the e-learning, the online curriculum in the classrooms or in the labs, and the students were sitting there day in, day out, working with the teachers on those classes, but they could work at their own pace. There was some flexibility in how they completed it. All students, there's a couple situations, took 2 classes at a time. So they'd come from 8 to 11 and spend an hour and a half or an hour and 15 minutes in one, spend a little over an hour in another, and that was their day. The goal was trying to get them into an area or into a content that they needed strengthen, and also try to get them into an elective or something that was a little more fun. Nobody wants to sit and pound math facts all day long for 3 hours. To kind of keep their energy level and excitement. We had really good turnout this summer. Supine and Ingleside ran classes in June and July, and you can see the number of, the bottom line there's a number of students, and most of them took 2 classes. Again, there was a couple kids who took 1 because of vacation schedules and that. And then Mountainside ran one just in June, and they also had 57 students enrolled in it. So again, with the middle school program, there was some funding assistance from Title I and DSEG and EIS to help with busing and some of the staffing to keep some of the costs off of community ed. But for the first year running the program, found it to be very successful. Okay, so now transitioning off of summer, my last couple of slides are about online learning right now, like right now. Last week it started. Differences between e-learning and Scottsdale online learning. I wanted to go over real quick just to make sure we're on a little verbiage check here. We're all talking the same language. E-learning class is a student who's at one of our traditional high schools taking a course as part of his regular schedule, his or her regular schedule. So they have 4 or 5 or 6 classes at Desert Mountain, and they take an additional class, or one of their courses during the day is in the lab as an e-learning course, but they attend Desert Mountain every day. They're counted in attendance there. They just happen to have a class or 2 on their schedule. Scottsdale Online Learning, that's our virtual high school. Those students are 100% virtual. Many of them don't live in the Scottsdale area. They live in other areas of Maricopa County and across the state. And those students are only required to have some contact here for either finals or for other means throughout the class if we deem it necessary. Most of them will complete that course 100% virtually without having to be in one of our buildings. The e-learning model, the students in our schools are on the regular traditional school calendar. Semester-based, starts day 1, 180 days. It's just like every other schedule we have in the district. Scottsdale Online Learning works a little different. So the virtual students who are wherever they are in the world working on classes, they work on 6-week blocks, and we limit them to 2 classes per 6-week block. So that's very consistent to what other online vendors that, you know, Primavera, Pinnacle, Connections Academy, the ones you heard a lot of the commercial ads for. Although you might have heard some Soul ads this summer, I'm not sure, but I've got a few emails. Oh, I heard you guys on KNIX. So we're getting there. Those are broken down to 6-week blocks. So a student can take, we limit them to 2 at a time because of the accelerated pace. In theory, if a student goes full-time with us, they actually could take, you know, if you figure out the classes, they'd actually take a credit more by the end of the year than a traditional student would. So some students who are in that virtual environment have a little different calendar, but they have some flexibility, and if they maximize their year, they can get more credits out a year than they could traditionally. And that's also because Soul is a 12-month calendar. It goes from July 8th until June 22nd. I can't remember what the Friday is, but there's a 2-week gap over July 4th. So it's a little longer calendar as well. But we do get ADM, and that's one of the next lines down here. We get ADM for both. We get ADM for the virtual kids through Soul, and we collect ADM just like we do with all the traditional students at their high schools. The other comment I have in here is about the 7th hour course fee. Students that are brick and mortar are taking more than 6 classes, pay the 7th hour course fee, the same fee we've been charging for years, whether it's an online course or whether it's a brick and mortar course. They pay that fee. The last 2 bullets on here is about all of our classes, whether you're virtual or whether you're sitting at one of our high schools, same teachers, highly qualified. They're our Scottsdale staff. They're using the same Pearson and Florida virtual curriculum, doesn't matter which course it is. All of it's been reviewed and gone through high school planning guide, through the curriculum department. It's very, very rigorous and very good program. And many people have come through it, and that's part of that summer number, who've gone to Pinnacle or Primavera and those, and then take one with us, come back and complain because the course is too hard, or it takes too much work compared to some of the other stuff they've done. So with that being said, currently, as of yesterday, we have 1,389 enrollments right now in e-learning. I broke them down by subject area. The electives, English, math, your core areas, excuse me. 41 students taking AP courses online. That's a very nice number to see. As a year ago, we were just getting into the AP online courses. So now that we have them, we're starting to see kids go that way. STEP, which is your alternative ed program, has 71 enrollments. So they're students trying to recover credits and get back on track to graduate. And the bottom 2 are Winslow and Page High School. Those are our IGAs we have that we get a per enrollment fee from the high schools. So we actually are creating revenue on those 11 and 35 students respectively. They're sitting in the same courses that our e-learning students are and our other virtual kids. They have the same teachers, same platform, but yet we're getting money from the school instead of the state for them. So they stay enrolled at their schools. They collect their ADM there, but they're paying us a flat fee per head to use our system and our teachers. And I wanted to talk about Soul real quick. Soul, like I said, is on the 6-week block. Right now we're in block 1. This is actually the finals week for block 1. So we have about 47 students this week trying to complete finals. Next Monday will be the start of block 2. So I have 25% up there, and I apologize for the date still being there. I did update the numbers today. So, but the 25% is because I'm looking at that. If you're comparing it to e-learning, if you want to compare the enrollment to e-learning is a semester. Soul will have 4 blocks between now and Christmas. So I've really got 25% of their fall enrollment accounted for so far. And that's a significant increase from last year. We have right now, according to our records, I think we've got 63 students enrolled, whether they're taking 1 or 2 courses. Some of them aren't enrolled right now. Some of them start Monday. 63 students is a lot of students saying that we want to be virtual and work our lives around school. So we're very happy with that. And do you have any questions for me?
Thank you for your presentation.
No problem.
Any comments or questions? Board Member Sneed.
Thanks so much, Chris. I wanted to give kudos that we went to the 6-week block, and that the students are encouraged to just take no more than 2 at a time.
Correct.
I think that really helps with their success, helps with focus, and I've heard good feedback about that. So I wanted to let you know.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Board Member Perlberg.
Thank you for all this information. One of the questions I have is trying to understand your brick and mortar students that go on campus. How do they end up, instead of in just a class, in a computer lab taking a class? I mean, how do they end up there? Is it because that high school doesn't have the course they're wanting to take, or?
So, Madam Board Member Perlberg, majority of the time, I'd say about half the time, I should say, half the enrollments are just scheduling conflicts. They want to take, there's a course, and the way their scheduling is working out. Desert Mountain IB program is a great example. Very tight schedule on when the IB students can take bio and some of their classes. If the other electives, the other courses they want aren't fitting that schedule, this becomes very flexible for them. They can take it online, and then third period's their lab now, instead of trying to find a section that really doesn't exist for them. Other students are taking them as 7th or greater courses, so they're taking them outside the classroom at home. And some of the other students just prefer it. There's some students now, and the more we've been doing this the last couple of years, you're getting more students who this is a better environment. They're much happier, and especially with certain subjects. They work at their own pace. In English, they can just work and do their research and go on their own, and they do the pace that they're comfortable with, and it works, and some of the families have elected to go that way. But no matter what they choose, all of it goes through their counselor at their high school. All registrations for any of the brick and mortar students come from their counselor. We don't even see it until it goes through them. So there is some connection on there, and they're just not all making a decision on their own and changing their schedule around.
Well, that's great. I think the flexibility is wonderful. I mean, for a lot of us, just this e-learning and learning on computers is so strange and new, but it is the future, and I'm very glad SUSD is ahead of the curve in all of this, and putting together something that Scottsdale can be very, very proud of. All of this information is fantastic, and I guess it is kind of good for me to understand a little better that when we talk community education, it does include all of these things, so and the e-learning and all of that. But I do understand as well that it also includes summer camps and things that go on in our district too. Is that all including community ed? As far as, I'm talking about the fun camps, not classes necessarily.
Right. Yes, we do have some we call enrichment camps, or minimal of it. We do have regular childcare, daycare, kids club in the summer, as well as during the school year, before and after school. All the pre-K and the early childhood campus that Mr. Freeman spoke about, the ECC Choya. All those programs fall under community ed as well. In the summer, we don't have as robust of a camp schedule as I'd like. That's definitely something that we've focused on. We're trying to grow on in the future. I would like to see us have more robotics and more science and some of the more fun camps. I'm with you. I agree. It's also an economic issue. Putting those together and making them at least be cost effective or break even, so we can justify getting the expenditures. It's not always easy finding enough kids that have the same schedule that can come at the same time to do them. So trying to put some options together next summer and in the future years to get some more variety in our camps is definitely a goal of ours.
Right. And now, I think this is fairly new, I believe, is some of the sports camps that coaches run. That's all now under the umbrella.
I forget sometimes what we do.
I guess that is a big question probably still remaining is how are those, summer camps and programs, how is the community embrasing them, and is it possibly something that can expand and grow for our district that, actually becomes somewhat profitable? Because these are literally, it's by choice and just fun things. Is that a goal of community ed, or?
Absolutely, Madam Board Member. Dr. Pearson and Mr. O'Brien and I actually just met last week, starting to review the preliminary numbers from summer and from last school year. And as you heard earlier, in the next few weeks, as we wrap up last year's FY13 and we get solid numbers, we can start planning moving forward where we can expand and go into that. The athletic camps have been pretty, just speaking about the athletic camps in general, they've been pretty consistent the last few years on the numbers of them and the number of enrollments. It's good. I don't have them in front of me. I can definitely get them back for you, but I think we'll have a pretty good broad answer on that here in about 2 or 3 weeks once we finalize the final budgets from last year and look at what we're doing moving forward. But though, yes, the definitely is a goal is to expand on the summer programming and some of those aspects so we can pull in some more revenue. We could use the money.
And Madam President, Board Member Perleberg, one of our upcoming board workshop meetings that we're going to have is going to be a 2-hour in-depth deep dive regarding community education and all the breadth of their programs, because it's amazing from our tuition-based preschools all the way through those summer camps. There's a tremendous amount of things that are going on, and the vendors for our after-school programs and kids club. So we're going to have that and be able to really go into it in depth with you.
And if I could, just for members of the public here, the board had a retreat last week, and in the course of that retreat, it was determined that for this year we were going to pilot having monthly workshops for the board to do deep dives into organizational areas of the school district to help our learning of the operations of the school district, as well as to give the leaders in our school district an opportunity to show their stuff. So Dr. Peterson and I have worked on the full year and what that might look like on the topics, and I need to formalize that, and we'll get that out to everybody pretty quickly. I'm hoping by early next week.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Board Member Brown.
So just out of curiosity, what is a school paying us in Page, Arizona to have a child take an e-learning or a SOL, Scottsdale Online class?
They pay us $150 per course. So if a student takes 3 courses, 1.5 credits, we get $450 for them.
So it's $150 per course?
Per credit, yep, per half credit.
And how do we go about marketing to other areas to encourage their participation?
We're working on that. We have started a conversation with other districts who are tipping their toe in the water, but it's not always the easiest subject to go on. Dr. Peterson and I myself actually just met Friday morning at down ADE in the superintendent's office with Dr. Johnson and Ms. Gilbert, who are very interested in working with us and getting our name out, including through their website and in a sense helping endorse the good online programs out there for schools, especially the rural schools, the schools who, unless they get an email or a random flyer, we're not touching base with them all the time. Those are the ones who really can benefit from it the most. And that's what we're looking to expand into this year. And that's one of our main goals for the online program, is to look at getting more schools on board with us.
Could ASBA help us? It would seem
Sure.
that, well, Bonnie, you know more about that group than anybody.
I was just thinking the same thing. If we could put flyers out at the conference, I'd have to talk to the ED and make sure, because I know Mesa has their program and there are several different programs, so I'd have to see what their policy is about that. But I think it would be a great place, maybe even encourage them to make it a breakout session at one of their conferences. So I can bring that up at a board of directors meeting.
Sure, absolutely. Let me know what we do. I'd love to be part of it.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay,
No
thank
problem.
you. Thank you very much.
All right.
We have one action item tonight, speaking of ASBA, and it is to approve the Arizona School Boards Association proposed 2014 political agenda as recommended by the Legislative Committee. Ms. Como has sent the proposal out to you over the summer. It's also sitting a hard copy in front of you. Hopefully you've had a chance to review it. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding the proposal? If so, I would encourage you to direct them to our delegate, Board Member Sneed. If not, do I have a motion on the table to approve the 2014 proposed political agenda for ASBA as submitted?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2014 proposed political agenda submitted by the Legislative Committee of the Arizona School Board Association that will be considered by the Delegate Assembly.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Board Member Sneed, seconded by Board Member Brown. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is future action. Do I have any requests? Not seeing any lights light up, so then we'll move on to the governing board reports. Do any members of the board have a report? Board Member Brown.
So I was messing around with my retired cell phone that happened to be a smartphone, and I realized that in this day of BYOT, schools that maybe don't have as many kids with smartphones could sure use your retired smartphone with a charger. And I just chatted with Tom about this, and I've chatted with David about this. Kind of pass the word for me, will you? Drop those smartphones off at those schools. Give me a charger, too. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Sneed.
Yes, along the lines of ASBA, I'd like to encourage our board members, if they possibly can make 1 or 2 days for the law conference. In my opinion, that has always been the most, the best conference that they hold all year long. You learn a lot of stuff in a short period of time. They've also restructured it so that if you go to a particular breakout session, I think they're going to have 24 different breakout sessions this time, but all of the materials will be made available to all attendees. So you get the materials even if you can't go to them. It really is, in my opinion anyway, and from a lot of that ASBA board believes it too. It's the best conference they have all year, and it's in town, so if you don't want to stay, you can, just go for the day.
Thank you.
Thus, I'm sorry, the pre-conference is September 4th. The conference is the 5th and the 6th, and then we'll have the law conference and the board of directors meeting on the 7th.
Thank you. And I have one report. If the board remembers, right before the summer break, we had AV Homes who made a significant financial donation right in the midst of our budget season to Mohave Middle School music program. And at that presentation, they said they wanted to create an intergenerational, multi-generational partnership with the community and with Mohave Middle School. And I just received this tonight, and I'll pass it along to the folks at the district so they can get it up on the website. It's a beautiful invitation. It's short notice, but it is this Thursday night from 6 to 7 p.m. Where they will be announcing a multi-generational partnership that may be music to your ears between the residences at the Borgata, which is a senior living facility just on the southwest corner of Scottsdale Road in Lincoln, and Mohave Middle School. And it's from at the Kerr Cultural Center, which is an ASU facility, and there's free food. So if any of you can make it, I'm sure they would love to have your attendance. I think it would be, it's going to be a beautiful event with Mohave Middle School Strings and the Scottsdale Philharmonic Quartet.
My daughter's on bass, just so you all know.
So you'll be there. Great. Thank you.
I've got a violist in that as well.
Oh, so you'll be there too. We will have representation. That's excellent. Okay, dates of upcoming meetings. We currently have a meeting scheduled Tuesday, September 10th at 5 p.m. It's our regular board meeting. But please watch the website, and because at our retreat we did discuss changing somewhat how we move forward with our work studies to give them more airtime. Because we often feel a little bit rushed in our 1-hour work studies, then to maintain our regular board members, and then to add these workshops, these monthly workshops that we discussed. And so we'll be getting all of that out on our website and here shortly. So with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.